بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Continuing on with Kitab al-Tahara, the book of Purification, inshallah today we'll talk about removing impurities or najasat. He says وتغسل نجاسة الكلب والخنزير سبعا إحداهن بالتراب, that you can remove the impurity of the dog and the pig with washing it 7 times, one of those times with dirt or dust or soil. The dog in this narration or this chapter is talking about the dogs that we know about in general, like the herd dog or the guard dog or the hunting dog, these type of dogs. But originally in the Arabic language, al-kilab or kelb can refer to any beast of prey. So like tigers, lions, mukallibin, like Allah says in the Quran, hunting with those type of dogs. It means also like any type of beast of prey. So like wolves or tigers or lions, these were also considered dog, like kilab in the Arabic language. And the proof is from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about Utbah ibn Abi Jahl. He was like one of the enemies of Islam and enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, and he hurt the Prophet, very badly. He made a dua against him. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allahumma sallat alayhi kalban min kilabik. Oh Allah, may you send a beast from your beast. Here the word here, kilb, dog, but it means like in general beast of prey. So what happened was, it's the story, the hadith or the narration says that even though he was a disbeliever, he was scared of the Prophet ﷺ's dua. Like in his heart, he knew the Prophet ﷺ was a truthful person. So he would take precautions every night when he slept and have guards around him and stuff like that. So it says on one time in his journeys, he was traveling and he had all the people sleep around him and he slept in the middle to be safe. And the lion came and got him from the middle and killed him basically. So that was like the dua of the Prophet ﷺ coming true. But the scholars, they say that this is referring to how in a linguistic meaning kilb can be other than the dogs that we know. But here the one he's talking about, the Imam, is specifically the dogs that, like the shepherd dogs, the hunting dogs, the guard dogs, in general, the ones that we see in our daily lives, right, interactions with. So he says, if the dog, licks the bowl or the container, you're supposed to wash it 7 times, one of them with turab. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا وَلَغَ الْكَلْبُ فِي إِنَاءِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَلْيَغْسِلْهُ سَبْعًا, that if the dog he licks from one of your bowls, he should wash it 7 times. And then another narration, أُولَهُنَّ بِالتُّرَابِ, one of those times with dirt or soil. Some scholars say that you can be anyone before the last one, that you can do it with dust, and some scholars say that you wait till the last one to wash it with water, so you don't have to do more than 7 times, right? And there's certain, like some scientific discoveries that show that the dust or the turab, the soil or the dirt, actually has certain materials or qualities in it that can kill some of the germs of the dog, right? So we do it because of the hikmah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Like you can try to find certain explanations Islamically, logically or scientifically for Islamic rules and regulations, but the main reason we do it is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to do so, or the Prophet ﷺ has told us to do so, right? Because there's some things that weren't discovered at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, but they accepted it, and we found out, in generations, hundreds of years later, about these scientific facts, right? And then we never know. Nowadays, maybe something is going to be discovered after us that we don't know. So in general, the principle is, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said something in the Quran or the Prophet ﷺ in an authentic hadith, we accept it for in and of itself. And then if we find other scientific or logical explanations that accompany it, alhamdulillah. But in general, the first basis is believing in it, right? So in this sense, like we might not see the actual bacteria or the germs of the dog itself, but the Prophet ﷺ is telling us, if the dog licks one of your bowls or your plates or your dishes, that you should wash it 7 times, one of them with soil, with dust, right? And in another narration, Bukhari says, أُولَهُنَّ بِالتُّرَابِ, that's first one with turab. Now in terms of the dog being najis or not najis, like impure or not impure, there's a difference amongst the ulama. The Malikiya say that it's not impure in of itself, and they use the ayat of the hunting, like we're allowed to hunt with the dogs. The ayat of Surah Al-Kahf, the dog was in the cave. The basically the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was dogs running through the masajid sometimes or through the houses, and these type of issues. And there wasn't any other ahadith saying that you should wash your clothing if a dog rubs up against you. So their adillah and their arguments are pretty strong. Yes.
What if a dog licks, say, your clothing?
So the dog licks your clothing, they would say that you just, the other scholars say that you wash it, just once. Not, you don't have to do it 7 times. Only the specific hadith is talking about the bowls or the containers, right? Other than that, they say that you can rinse it, wash it once. And the Malikiya, some of them will say that you don't have to wash it at all in terms of it's not najis. It's only if it licks at your, the bowls, for some reason we're supposed to do it, and it's a reason, it's called ta'abbudi, that a reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But according to the other scholars, you wash it, but you don't have to do it 7 times.
And the same applies if it licks, say, your hand?
Yeah, just wash it once, or until basically you're sure that the najas is removed, if you follow the madhab that it's najas in of itself. The Imam also says the khanzir, the pig, but that's not a opinion backed by evidence. It's not a strong opinion. There's a hadith on Tha'laba al-Khushani قال قلت يا رسول الله إن بأرض أهل الكتاب يشربون الخمور ويأكلون الخنزير فما ترى في آنيتهم فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم دعوها ما وجدتم عنها بدا فإذا لم تجدوا عنها بدا فاغسله بالماء. So basically the Sahabi is saying that we live in a Christian nation, or a nation of the people of the book, and in that nation they drink wine and they eat pork, khanzir, from their dishes. So what should we do? And he said, try to stay away from using those dishes, but if you must use the dishes, wash them, right? But he didn't say wash them 7 times, one of those times with turab. So the qiyas here, the comparison of the dog to the kilb is not very strong. So we would go with the other opinion saying that it's not the same. Basically this ruling applies solely to the dogs. Is that clear? طيب. ويجزى في سائر النجاسات 3 منقية. That it's for all the other types of najasat, 3 washings is sufficient, right? And the scholars say if 3 isn't enough, you're going to find other opinions that say that it's not necessarily 3. It's basically till you get rid of the najasa. So if it requires less or more until the najasa is removed, that's enough, right? According to the madhab al-Hanabila and this imam, that you have to do it at least 3 times for other najasat, and there's exceptions to the rule. So the first exception is more than 3. What is that? We just took right now. The najasa that has to be washed, according to the Hanabila, more than 3 times.
The dog licking the bowl?
The dog licking the bowl, right. And then he's going to get into less than 3, which is with the young child, the young, male child, or the urine of, in the masjid, one pouring of a bucket over it. We'll talk about that right now. But in general, you try to remove the najasa whichever amount is necessary. So if it needs 3 is sufficient. If it needs more than 3, use more than 3. And the proof for 3 in particular, the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا استيقظ أحدكم من نومه فليغسل يده 3 فإنه لا يدري أين باتت يده. That if a person gets up in the middle of the night, he should, before doing anything, he should wash his hand 3 times, because he doesn't know where his hand, spent the night, basically, if something najis got on your hand or not. Right. So the scholars derive from that the limit, the general rule for removing najasa is washing your thing 3 times. Okay.
But isn't that the same as just making wudu in the morning?
Yeah, when you wake up and you start the sunnah of wudu with washing your hands 3 times. Yeah. And there's another thing, like the Prophet ﷺ said, not to put your hands into if you have like a container of water. In some countries, and back in the days, they didn't have sinks, obviously, so they had containers of water. So they wouldn't put their hands directly in the water. They would have like a cup or something, or to remove it and pour the water on their hands and wash it 3 times before they make wudu with that water. So the evidence basically is that 3 times is from this type of proofs that the scholars use. In terms of using, like soap or other types of detergents to remove the najasa, some scholars say that's permissible as well. Like you don't have to actually put dirt. You can use, dishwashing liquid or some type of soap. But the traditional opinion is basically using the turab, and like I said, there have been some scientific discoveries that show the turab actually kills certain germs and certain properties of the dog's saliva, and Allah knows best. وإن كان النجاسة وإن كانت النجاسة على الأرض فصبة واحدة تذهب بعينها لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صبوا على بول الأعرابي ذنوبا من الماء. He said if the impurity is on the ground, the pouring water over it will move it. According to the saying of the Prophet ﷺ about the A'rabi, the Bedouin person who urinated in the masjid. This man, he came into the mosque from a far journey and he didn't know better. Like, he didn't have the proper etiquette or training of the city people, basically. So he just found a place in the back of the masjid that people were not there, and he just, urinated. And the Sahaba were very upset. They wanted to hit him, and the Prophet ﷺ told the Sahaba to just chill, like leave him be, let him finish his, using the rest, the bathroom. And then he explained to him this is not a place for doing that. And he ordered the Sahaba to pour a bucket of water over the urine, right? So the scholars say for urine or najasat upon the floor or upon solid substances, that you can pour a bucket of water over it to remove the najasa. This is also a proof, like we talked about 2 lessons ago, that we said that if it's less than qullatain, if it changes and a najasa goes into it, according to the author and some of the Hanabila, it becomes najis, right? Even if it doesn't change its color or its taste or its scent. But this is a proof that the other scholars in Madhab have used that, the Prophet ﷺ, he ordered that pouring of water, a bucket, it's less than qullatain, right? But because it didn't change its properties of scent, taste or scent, and it removed the najasa, that was sufficient. So that's another proof for the scholars that say that the criteria for determining if the water is najis or not is the changing of its color, taste, or scent, right? That this evidence here, just a side note. Also the case that the bucket of water should be more than the urine itself, obviously. If it's like a little cup, it's not going to be sufficient. It should be a bucket or something, at least more than the urine itself. ويجزى في بول الغلام الذي لم يأكل الطعام النضح. And for the child that doesn't, eat yet on his own, like he's still breastfeeding, nudah, which is like sprinkling water upon it, is sufficient for that. So this is the exemption to the rule. The general rule is 3 times. We said there's exemption to make it more, which is with a dog, and there's exemption to make it less. The first one was on the floor, on the ground, you pour water over it with 1 pouring. And now the second one is like if it's the urine of a young baby boy who hasn't started eating on his own yet. So if this young baby boy urinates, then you can sprinkle water on it or get water to make it wet, not having to scrub it or wash it like 3 times like other najasat. And the distinguishing between the young boy and the young baby girl, some scholars say it's because of in general in those days that the boys would be taken out more than the girls, so it's called فيما يعم به البلوى, which is like a hardship that kind of encompasses a lot of people more often. And like we said, in general, Allahu A'lam, Allah knows the best reason. I know knows why the best, but the hadith says that's for the young baby boy, and it covers urine. So if the boy starts eating on his own, it's like any other urine. It's supposed to be washed 3 times or until the urine disappears. And it doesn't cover also like defecation. If the baby uses the bathroom the other way, that has to be washed like any other najasa, right? And then he says وكذلك يعفى عن يسيره ويسير الدم وكذلك المذي. Sorry, المذي is like the pre-ejaculate fluid, that fluid that comes out with sexual excitement. Usually it's not as thick as the sperm or many, and it's a little bit thicker than the urine. But anyway, this is considered, according to the Hanabila in this riwayah, it's like less najis than the urine, so it requires like sprinkling of water. That's according to him. But the Jumhur say no, it's the same thing. It's the same najis as urine, even worse than urine, according to some narrations. Because there's other narrations that the Prophet ﷺ said if that happens, you should wash it, remove it and wash it, basically, right?
So what would you recommend to follow?
So in this instance, the hadith show that you should, wash the area if the medi gets out. Um, I'm sorry, the mani. The mani is like it's called like pre-ejaculate fluid, or the type of fluid that comes out sometimes. So you have mani, which is the sperm we'll talk about. That's considered pure according to the jumhur. Then you have al-madi, which is what we're talking about now, pre-ejaculate fluid. Then you have wadi, and wadi is like a thicker white fluid that comes out sometimes after urination. In different instances, it's like a little different substance, and that's the same ruling as the urine or the madi. So. So according to the Imam, you can just splash water and wipe it and continue, yeah. But according to the other scholars, there's a hadith that shows the Prophet ﷺ said that you should wash it. So it's just like urine or anything like that, the same hukm. So to be safe, I think that's a stronger opinion. You can just wash it a little bit.
But you don't have to make ghusl with that. Right?
You don't have to make ghusl with that one. You make wudu. Okay. Wudu is sufficient, yeah. The ghusl is required for if mani comes out. وَيَعْفَ عَنْ يَسِيرِهِ وَيَسِيرِ الدَّمِ. So a little bit of that is forgiven, and a little bit of blood is forgiven. The stronger opinion is the blood, like most agree upon that. The small amount of blood is you can be like sprinkled water over it. It's sufficient. Or if it's just dried up, it's okay, like to pray in that, and it's not that big a deal, because in the ayah Allah says daman masfuha, which means like a lot of blood. When you slaughter the animal, when you do the dhabh or cutting the animal, then a lot of blood comes out, right? So they said like a lot of blood, you have to wash it off. But if it's a small amount of blood, like understanding it from the other direction, then it's not, it's forgiven, basically. وما تولد منه من القيح والصديد ونحوه وحد اليسير هو ما لا يفحش في النفس. He says that the trivial amount, the small amount, is excused. Likewise, trivial amounts of blood or its byproducts like pus, or that other stuff. Sometimes when you get like a cut, like under the scab, that liquidy, that type of stuff. It's not exactly pus, because pus is like the yellow or the white liquid, but the other stuff is kind of liquidy.
Like clear liquid?
It's more like clear liquid, but it's related to the cut itself, to the wound. So they're saying that these type of things, a small amount is forgiven, like the blood is forgiven. And they said the trivial amount or small amount, he says that which is not repugnant to a person, right? ما لا يفحش or يفحش في النفس, like you don't find it disturbing or turned off, basically like repugnant. That's how he describes it. Some scholars say that's not a good criteria, because for example, a butcher, he can see a lot of blood and it won't turn him off, like he's used to it, it's not a big deal. Whereas another person, just even a tiny amount of blood would like freak them out. So some scholars, they say to make it easier, they say like the size of a coin, basically like a quarter or a dirham, right? That size. If it's bigger than that, it should be washed. If it's less than that, you can sprinkle or it'd be forgiven, inshallah. ومني الآدمي وبول ما يؤكل لحمه طاهرا. So the semen of a human being, man or woman, is considered pure, and the urine of the animals that whose flesh can be eaten is also considered pure, not najis, tahir, right? So the proof is that the Prophet ﷺ, he would have traces of semen on his thobe, and Aisha would actually just like scratch it off, and he would go and pray with it, and the traces can still be seen. So therefore the scholars say that the semen is not najis, it's not impure, right? And for the animals, the Prophet ﷺ allowed, for example, praying in the the sheep's den, right? And there's obviously your sheep urine or sheep dung and stuff like that. He didn't order the people to wash it off. And then also there's another narration that a Sahabi who was like I think affected with jaundice or some type of stomach illness and sickness, and the Prophet ﷺ directed him to drink some of the urine of a camel. So basically to get like a cured from that sickness, right? And you're not allowed to get cured from things that are najis, obviously, to use najasa to cure yourself. So the scholars say these type of things, the animals that you can eat from, like the camels, the cows, birds, chickens, sheep, all these things, their excrements is considered not najis. It's considered pure. Yeah.
What about this? The say for instance like a cat. I mean, I don't know if you can eat a cat, but like say like cat urine gets on you.
Yeah.
Would that be considered najis or no?
So if it's like the house cat, and some scholars say that it's not considered it's not considered najis. Like if it's a wild cat, like the beast of prey, like the mukallibin, the hunting beast and animals like that, then that they say that some of them say that's najis, because you can't eat from them, right? So the whole issue is the cat, different. It's an exemption from that, the cat family, the other cat, the beast of prey, and some scholars say yes, it's exempted. So it's not the same. It's considered like pure, in that sense, right? It's different. I just like I don't know if you can imagine, but they would use like panthers and these type of things to go hunting with back in the day. Adi ibn Abi Adi ibn Abi Hatim al-Ta'i. He was one of the popular companions that used to hunt with, and he used to hunt with the panthers basically, like. And it was said that one of his the panthers were known to be loyal, subhanAllah. And he said when he died, his hunting panther came to his grave and stayed there until he died himself. Like he didn't move. That's how loyal he was to the owner. So yeah, they used to use different animals of prey to do hunting in the past. But so yeah, the cat is different than those type of animals.